Welcome to the podcast. And this episode, we're going to talk about how we add on more guilt and shame by trying to be holy. So, I was coaching somebody the other day, and it was very fascinating to me how, as she was describing, I try to think of offering my sufferings for those people who are in the war in Ukraine, or they've lost their homes, or have tornadoes or floods. And she's like, because it could be worse. I really don't have it that bad. And we paused, and I was like, but that's not really offering it up. That is using guilt and shame to make ourselves feel bad for having for feeling bad, right? For suffering. So that's what I want to talk about today. I also apologize because I have a bit of a head cold. Of course, school's back in session for my children, and so what that means is usually I get a cold. So I'm gonna try to get through this without sneezing, and it's not gonna be a long episode today because I know that I've talked about offering it up before, but I just always think that there's so many ways that we can come back to it and view it from a different viewpoint or a different angle. Also, I do want to say and mention also that I often when I talk, I am talking about when somebody has lost a loved one, right? Like that is our most common, most well-known times that we talk about grief. And we see people in grieving and we want to help them. But I'm also talking about the grief of having a long-term um chronic illness, right? There's a lot of grief that comes with that, where your child maybe was diagnosed with something, or even grief of friendships or losing jobs, right? Like all of that is suffering. And anytime we suffer, we can unite that to the Lord and offer it to Him to have Him use it for our for His glory, right? For the greater good. And I know that that sounds cheesy, right? There's a whole theological explanation behind it, right? And this being a Catholic podcast, we believe that our sufferings, united with Christ, that He can use those, okay? He can use those to save souls. He can use those for, whatever, right? Like for whatever. But the key is we have to offer him that gift. He's not just going to come in, he's not going to take it, he's not going to be like, well, I'm going to need this over here, right? Like, he's not an insurance company saying how, well, this is the fee and it keeps going up and you better keep paying it for somebody else to get their coverage, okay? The Lord, in his goodness, always, always loves us 100% where we are, where we're at. Yes, is he maybe asking us to strive to be holier? Sure, probably, because most of us still have that work to do. But in our suffering, right? Like in whatever grief we have, whether it's over grief of losing a job, whether it's over grief of I really had a really good connection with this person and something, I don't know why, but they just stopped talking to me. Whether it be a grief of my kids went to this sports complex, this activity center. We had a really good community there, and I don't really understand what happened, but we're not invited back there. And I'm hurting, my kids are hurting, like that was our community. And so anytime that there's a grief, we first and foremost to just name it as grief. Because a lot of times we want to fix the problem. We want to explain it away. We want to get defensive. We want to say how it's somebody else's fault. But just saying that it's grief, that I'm experiencing grief because of that, really helps me see, oh, I'm not crazy. This is a real thing. Like, this is an emotion that I'm feeling. Okay. Okay. Now I know. Now I know this is grief. And with the grief, then we're told, especially as Catholics, right? There's that Catholic guilt. Other religions have it too, right? To offer it up, to, well, yeah, but look at so and so, like they have it worse. And I just want to say that maybe they do have it quote unquote worse, right? Like maybe somebody got in a really bad car accident, they lost their leg, or they're paralyzed, right? Like we can look at that, and as humans, we can say, well, that's worse than getting kicked out of this sports club. However, the feeling of grief can still be there. And Jesus is asking us to offer that grief, no matter how big or small, to Him. So I just kind of want to preface it as that, right? Like grief doesn't always have to be somebody died. It can be that you're in extreme pain because you have a chronic illness. It can be because, again, you lost your job. Your kids they lost their best friend, right? Like, or their best friend moved away, right? Like there's grief everywhere. And so we often say, well, this person has it worse. And with that, then we like to use it to shame ourselves. Okay. So as I was talking to this client the other day, so she was talking about, again, an example where she's like, well, I like to, when I offer it up, I try to, because I told her, I'm like, I'm reading this book. It's called Offered Up by, I never can remember who the author is. It's Megan, and it starts with an H, Megan something. And she talks about how she also had a lot of pain, chronic back pain. And when she would wake up, she had a hard time sleeping. So when she'd wake up in the middle of the night, she would say, okay, it's Monday. Like, she'd kind of little pouty pants at first, be like, oh, like I have all these things to do today. And then she would look at it and be like, okay, it's Monday. All right, Lord, I'm offering my suffering for the Pope, or I'm offering my suffering for my friend who I know is going through infertility, right? Like she would offer it to somebody every day. She had somebody in mind, and it helped her not only one, then use her grief and give it to God, right? Surrender it, offer it, but also to then pray for a specific person that she had in mind. And when I was talking with my coaching with my client, she was saying how, well, I look at it as, well, I pray for the people that are experiencing war right now. Like I can't imagine like living in a place where like you're afraid that you're going to be bombed, or your relatives are persecuted, or you might not have a home tomorrow, right? So, but which is the intention is there, right? The intention is good. But when we're using it as guilt and shame to say, well, look at, you don't have it that bad. Well, look at them over there, right? Like they're starving children. Could you imagine like having to decide which of your children to feed at night because they don't have, like, that doesn't come from God. Okay, that is not what God is asking us to do. That is not offering it up. That is how the devil takes it and wants us to shame and guilt ourselves. So then God can't use it because we're so like shaming and guilting ourselves, right? And of course, God is God, so we probably still can use it, but it's not as pure, it's not as well intended. And again, her intentions were good, but when we slowed it down, we really paused and looked at it. It was like, well, it's just another way for you to shame yourself and make yourself feel bad of, well, like, look at you moping here. Like, no, you have extreme pain all the time. That is hard to live with. Most of us would not be handling it very well. Right? Like we would be extremely crabby. We would probably be like, well, give me whatever drugs, right? Like she's like, no, I try like do very like clean, holistic, whatever. And she's like, and I try to like surrender it. I try to offer it up, but then she was using it to guilt and shame herself, almost like she wasn't doing enough. Like, well, stop being a crybaby because other people have it worse. Okay. And that is what I want to kind of get to my point today. I hope it makes sense. I'm sorry. Yeah, my head is like foggy from congestion. So I hope that it makes sense. I hope what I'm trying to come across is coming across is that if you feel like you're using offering it up as a guilt and shaming thing, then that is the devil speaking, right? That's the devil whispering in your ear. But if you're like, no, Lord, like, I don't know why I'm going through this. I know that it's hard. but I also know that I want to give it to you 100%. And sometimes too, to be like, I'm a little pouty pants about this. I'm throwing a little toddler temper tantrum over here, but bring that to the Lord as well. Bring that to the Lord and say, okay, maybe what I need right now is when I'm in this extreme pain before I have my surgery, or while my kids are really suffering because their friends moved. I am pouty pants about it. I see that. I know that. I know that's my grief. I know that's my humanness. And I'm going to take one day a week, maybe more if needed, maybe less if needed, but I'm going to really bring it to you, Lord, and I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to say everything I need to say, and then I'm going to listen. And I think that's the important part too, right? Is then to be like, okay, and then I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. What are you putting on my heart right now? What are you asking me to do? What can I do? Is there anything I can do? And then to ask for wisdom, guidance, to keep turning back to the Lord, to keep offering my grief, my pain, my suffering back to Him 100%, not as guilt and shame, but just as a way to reconnect and use it with how He's going to use it, right? Because we can't see the whole picture like He can. So that was what I had for today. I hope it made sense in my cold fog. And I also want to invite you guys to go to catholicgriefcoach.com to sign up for my next grief group. And if you're like, well, I haven't had a loved one die, I don't really know if this group is for me or not, send me an email, okay? It is catholicgriefcoach@outlook.com. Send me an email, say, hey, I'm just curious. Or if you go to my website down on the bottom, you can scroll, I think it's all the way down, and then there's a free consult call that you can sign up for it and ask me questions and be like, I'm interested in this, but I'm not really sure. So um, we can talk through it. So grief group starts September 5th, and we start at noon Central on September 5th. So I am excited about it. And we're going to talk all things grief, all things uniting it through Christ, and find some healing and peace along the way, and probably some hope. So, all right, you guys, I am praying for you, and I hope you have the very best possible day that you can.